lot more culturally relevant, super interesting research that I wish every single person knew about. This is a follow-up to a post I made a couple days ago explaining how the egg that made us was present within the womb of our maternal grandmother, thus has an influence on our genetic expression. If you haven't seen it yet, you should definitely check it out. But I got a ton of questions asking about male epigenetic inheritance, and so I want to address that today because it's really, really cool. Cool with the caveat that we do terrible things to rats in research. Okay, so there was a study done in 2013 with male rats where they classically conditioned them by pairing an odor called acidophenone with a shock, enough times that the rats became afraid of the odor. And for the record, this has been replicated with all kinds of odors, cherry blossoms, lavender, strawberries. You may have already heard about these. So once the rodents had the conditioning to be afraid of this particular smell, they were partnered up with female rats who did not have this conditioning and were bred. And when they looked at the offspring, they found that the pups born to the father who had a fear of acidophenone had the same fear, and so did their children. So the grandbabies of the rat that was conditioned to fear this particular smell had the fear of that smell. They never knew their fathers, by the way, so this couldn't have been a behavioral transmission or something learned during their own lives. And not only that, they found that the brain regions responsible for detecting this particular odor were more sensitive in the offspring of the rat who had been conditioned to fear the smell. So the offspring adapted to be more sensitive to that threatening odor as a protective mechanism. They did the same experiment with in vitro fertilization, just using the male sperm, and found the same effects. When this came out in 2013, there were so many researchers who were skeptical, saying this couldn't possibly be transmitted via sperm. However, there's a lot of newer research to show exactly how it works. I'm posting the image and the citation here. This is above my pay grade. And while rodent research does frequently map on to human conditions, that's not always the case, but we do have some evidence of this type of emotional or fear-based transmission in humans as well. There are researchers who tracked females who had been exposed to the World Trade Towers at 9/11 and subsequently developed PTSD. And they found that for the mothers, there were these very specific shifts in the function of their stress hormones that were subsequently passed on to their offspring. One, the male epigenome is heritable via sperm. And two, transmissions of epigenetic traits go beyond just physiological things that seem obvious. Fear responses, emotionality, biological PTSD profiles can also be transmitted. This research isn't new, but when you consider what's happening in the world right now, these findings are both remarkable and devastating.